Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families. And if not for the members of this task force, he would still be on the streets today.
A demon and a predator. Welcome to The Factor Uncensored. Authorities in Long Island, New York, making an arrest in a serial murder investigation spanning more than a decade. Now, 59-year-old Rex Heuermann is now in police custody. He's been charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. The bodies of the 4 victims, 3 of which who were believed to be sex workers, were found on Gilgo Beach in 2010. 6 other bodies were found in the years after, and investigators believe it may be connected to the respected businessman. Serial killers roaming the streets of America, nothing new. It continues, and it continues to climb year after year. Believe it or not, we're the home of the most serial killers in the world, with more than 3,600 that have been documented and that we know of in the country since 2020. Add possibly one more, Rex Heuermann. Let's get to our conversation. Joining me now here on The Factor Uncensored, Andy Kahn from Crime Stoppers and Human Trafficking Specialist, Matilda Zaragoza. Matilda, first of all, we're not shocked. We're not surprised that the individuals targeted were potentially or accused of being sex workers.
No, not at all. I mean, a lot of times these individuals, they go unnoticed for such a period of time. I mean, from my experience, I know that there's been times that we would always try to stay connected with each other. Okay, I'm fixing to go to this. I'm going to be out. I'm going out on a call. And so that way we'd have some sort of support. So that
and
way
that's when you were out.
When I was out there. And so that way if I didn't return at a certain period of time, then they knew something was not right. And it's just unfortunate that this is somebody's child. You know, this is somebody's mom, you know, that's out there and has been missing for such a long period of time, and it's just hurtful that somebody could just take somebody's life, because no matter what the situation is, they're still considered human beings.
Andy, are you surprised that this individual, Rex Heuermann, has gone undetected for more than a decade?
No, not at all. My first thoughts when I heard about the arrest, I immediately thought of Dennis Rader, better known as BTK, who was a church alderman in Kansas who had a killing spree of 30 years, well respected in the community, family man, just like this individual is right here. But I'll tell you, this is, and I'm coming from somebody who's actually corresponded with serial killers, and as you well know, I've gone and met with serial killers, so I have a little bit of foresight into the serial killer mindset. So he actually fits the prototype of exactly what, if you're looking to characterize a serial killer, Rex Heuermann fits that description.
Give me some of the characteristics that would put him in the serial killer category for you. Okay,
so he lives in the community, he's married, has children, he's known, he's a businessman, and he flies under the radar. Yep. So if you look at serial killers, if you look at somebody like Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, even a David Berkowitz, they all blend in the community. You're not thinking, there is no perfect, you know, this is what a serial killer is, this is what a serial killer looks like. But I'll tell you what, to me, as someone who's actually known victims of a serial killer, for this to be actually solved and to get answers, because grief is intensified when justice is lacking, and for over a decade, justice has been lacking for at least 10 young women, and if not more. And I think this is just a tip of the iceberg as to how many victims this particular killer did have.
Now, we're talking about New York. And with serial killers, they don't likely leave the area. They typically stay, right, in the community that they live in, if
you look at like Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown in Illinois, Ted Bundy was one who roamed, but that's because he kept getting locked up and escaping. Berkowitz, all in New York City as well. Dahmer in Milwaukee. They tend to stay. The Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. But I do think the era of the serial killer, quite frankly, is getting lower and lower, and that's because of technology. And technology is what solved this case.
Yeah. That's why it took 10 years.
Yeah.
Dogged investigators, yeah, absolutely.
And of course, it's our understanding that he threw a pizza box in the trash, and they traced him through that. But what was the deal about putting all of his victims, at least the ones they tied him to, into burlap it's like you want to be caught, because a person who's murdered, okay, maybe one burlap, but not all of them.
That's his MO. That's what he goes back to. If you look at serial killers, they all have an MO. They all have something that they want to relate to, and that's why they give them nicknames. The tourniquet killer, who used a tourniquet, and so on and so forth. But if you look at how he got caught.
Is that arrogance, though, where they use their MO, or are they stupid? What?
I think he loved he wanted, obviously, the attention, because if you look at his Google searches, and that's what they used, he's constantly seeing, has anybody been identified as a suspect? What about the girls? And he would actually taunt some of the girls' families by calling them all sorts of sexual names and so forth about the girls. So it kind of, and how they got him, you got to give the investigators credit.
Yes.
Over 10 years, and because technology has changed, like you said, I'm not going to look at a pizza the same way I am anymore. So if you're eating pizza out there, be very careful, because that's what basically connected him to this crime. The hair that was found in a pizza box on the crust that was thrown away matched the hair of one of the victims.
Wow.
That's Loctite right there.
That's incredible. And so, Matilda, for those, when those sex workers are out there, are they thinking about stuff like this? That this guy that this trick I may get with may be a serial killer? Are they constantly thinking about the dangers that are out there?
I think somewhere in the back of their mind, you are always thinking, or someone's always thinking of, okay, if I'm about to get in this car, if I'm about to go in this room, what could possibly happen? But sometimes we have underlying issues that we are trying to address. Like, say, for example, if you have an addiction and you're just trying to feed that monkey on your back, you're just thinking, let me get this and get out. And all those other things kind of weigh in the back of your mind.
Right.
They don't come as important. So I feel like at some point you do think about it, but then depending upon the situation, it just varies.
Do you think things have changed in the last decade since this?
Well, I haven't been out there quite some time. I would hope so. I would hope so. I mean, I'm an advocate, and I try to go out there and see all these people. You know, you just can't be jumping in and out of cars nowadays, and I hope that they look at segments like this so that way they can become more aware.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight.